Default social media platforms build their recommendation systems on implicit surveillance. They track how long you hover over a post, what you click, and what makes you comment. They use that passive behavioral data to optimize for one metric, keeping you on the app as long as possible, a cycle that often leads directly to doom scrolling. The system consumes every data point it can gather to construct an engagement loop designed specifically to capture and hold your attention. But a new class of intentional feed builders is replacing that loop. Instead of relying on a black box algorithm to guess what you want based on your worst habits, these systems use natural language AI to let you state your goals explicitly. This is the Bonsai feed generation interface. You type a plain text prompt explaining what you want, bypassing hidden engagement trackers. You dictate the parameters, requesting adorable pet photos, preferring pet care tips, and excluding sad animal stories. By typing out these roles, you shift the architecture of your feed. You move from a system that observes your passive reactions to one that executes your explicit instructions. Default algorithms give you effortless serendipity. You open the app, and the content is just there. Building a feed from scratch requires you to make active decisions. We can measure that friction by looking at this cognitive load scorecard. To create an intentional feed, you have to complete 3 distinct steps: sourcing the content, filtering it, and ranking it. You are taking on the labor of a platform engineer. You have to define the inputs, set the boundaries, and continuously tune the rules to keep the digital diet healthy. True control over your digital reality is possible, but that agency requires continuous maintenance. It is a daily, active burden. The first step in this new workload is sourcing. You have to explicitly tell the system where to pull its raw material from. Here's the source selection interface. You can stack inputs, pulling posts from accounts you follow alongside broad keyword searches. Mixing inputs creates a volume problem. A high-traffic search generates thousands of posts an hour, drowning out occasional updates from quiet accounts. To fix this, you might try building a highly specific feed, limiting the sources strictly to local community hashtags and a few regional news accounts. But without a generic engagement algorithm padding the gaps with viral videos, a hyperlocal feed will sit completely empty on a slow news day. Handpicking your sources ensures the content is relevant to your goals, but it means you have to constantly adjust those inputs so the feed doesn't break. Once you have the raw posts, you enter the curation phase. Here you establish the strict boundaries of what the AI is permitted to show you. This menu shows the inclusion rules. By tagging topics like educational pet care tips as strongly preferred, you force the AI to prioritize that specific subject above all other available content. This limit menu lets you banish content, hiding promotions or blocking distressing topics. The vulnerability is literal AI interpretation. The language model struggles to distinguish between a toxic internet argument and a nuanced piece of global news containing harsh realities. The filter acts like a rigid gate. It rejects anything that remotely triggers your exclusion keywords, leaving you with an overly sanitized stream of information. This creates false positives. A critical community safety alert about an injured stray might be hidden from you entirely because it trips the no distressing animal content rule. You can build a wall to keep out toxicity, but that insulation costs you global awareness and the context needed to navigate the real world. The final step is ranking. After the sources are picked and the filters are applied, you dictate the mathematical order of the surviving posts. This focused ranking setup assigns 60 points to relevance, forcing the feed to aggressively match your interests. But pushing relevance this high creates a closed loop. A feed perfectly matching your interests quickly feels stale, repetitive, and devoid of surprises. Alternatively, this fresh setup assigns its majority weight to recency, prioritizing the newest posts. Indexing heavily on recency provides up-to-the-minute content, but sacrifices quality. You must sift through unverified, low-effort reactions rather than thoughtful posts that take time to surface. Because this system isn't trying to keep you addicted, it executes your exact commands. If your instructions lack balance, your feed will become intensely boring. Custom feed builders take the heavy lifting of curation away from tech giants and place it squarely on your shoulders. We can map this trade-off by comparing the effort you put in against the actual utility you get out. If you are a casual scroller looking to pass the time, Micromanaging these sliders will quickly feel like a chore. You are better off using the default feeds and heavily relying on the block and mute buttons to manage your experience. But if you are an intentional optimizer, someone exhausted by the constant pull on your attention, the high upfront cost of tuning these rules yields a massive return on investment for your focus. For those ready to build, this balanced preset is the best starting point. By distributing the weights evenly across relevance, popularity, and recency, you establish a stable feed without accidentally breaking the algorithm. You step away from a chaotic stream designed to exploit your reactions and enter a structured space built around your explicit goals. True digital agency requires active labor.
It demands your time and cognitive effort to maintain, but it remains the only permanent strategy for reclaiming your screen time.